Let's call this meeting to order. My name is John Coppola, Chair of the Reston Planning and Zoning Committee. Welcome to the December 15th, 2025 meeting of the Reston Planning and Zoning Committee. The meeting is being held by Teams. The meeting will be recorded and the video archive will be available on the Reston Planning and Zoning Committee website. As we begin, please be reminded that all participants are expected to engage with civility and respect, both in the online chat and during public comments, so that we could foster a constructive and inclusive discussion. If citizens attending the meeting wish to make a comment or ask a question following the presentation by the applicant and discussion by the committee, they may raise their hand in the Teams app. The moderator will notify me and will unmute the citizen. And then citizens will identify themselves by name and address before making comments or asking a question. If a citizen has a special communication requirement, this can be accommodated. So we have two cases tonight. Reston Row will be number one. Comstock is the applicant, and they'll be represented by Jill Parks from Ballard Spar. And number two will be Commerce Metro Center, also Comstock, represented by Brian Winterhalter from DLA Piper. And last on the agenda are some administrative operations. So with that being said, is there anything else before we get started? Okay, Ms. Parks, please take it away.
Thanks, John. Hi, everybody. I'm Jill Parks, as John said, with Ballard Spar. I am here with Samantha Steckety. Sam is very much going to be participating in this effort with me, as she is the detail lady. She's going to run the slides. And we are here together with John Harrison from Comstock, who I think at this point you all know well. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background here, and please sort of excuse me for taking a little bit of your time. But this application has essentially been pending, since 2016. So there's quite a bit here. I'll try not to take too long. And obviously I welcome any comments. Slide one, Sam. As I think most of you know, in 2010, Comstock entitled, and in 2018, modestly amended the Reston Station project. Ultimately, it's 1.45 million square feet of development in 7 buildings on 2 development blocks, 1 and 2, and is now substantially complete. Slide. In order to extend the established Reston Station north, in 2018, Comstock entitled, and later in 2020, 2023, and recently in 2025 amended the Reston Row zoning. It was known for a while as Reston Station Promenade, and we brought it to you a number of times. On 8.4 acres of land, now at a 4.4 FAR and up to 1.6 million square feet of development in 4 buildings, A through D, and a standalone retail pad that we call the Jewel Box. Comstock is fortunate to have opened the project this fall with a slate of top-tier anchor tenants, JW Marriott, Vita Fitness, Ebbett House, and has recently announced Booz Allen, who has agreed to consolidate and relocate its global headquarters to Reston Row, a decision that, according to its spokesperson, reflects its commitment to investing in a, quote, innovative and optimized company with the new HQ designed to support its advanced technology capabilities and national missions. Slide. This is the sign.
Up first.
I'm sorry.
So sorry.
Okay. This is our timeline of signage, but in brief, in 2016, the Planning Commission approved, and then in 2019, twice amended a CSP, which included specific signage for each of the buildings within Reston Station, CSP being at the time a comprehensive sign plan. In 2022, once Comstock had secured all of its entitlements for Reston Row, it designed and prosecuted a more comprehensive sign plan for the entire 17.5-acre Reston Station, Reston Row neighborhood, which we'll call the neighborhood sign plan. That sign plan included project branding and placemaking signage, reflecting more distinctive placemaking and art concepts, tenant signage, and multimodal directional signage. That plan was later modestly amended in 2023 to move a single sign. And then in 2024, a determination was made that certain digital placemaking signs could be consolidated and artistically redesigned. Other than that, the 2022 neighborhood sign plan remains intact. Next. Having substantially completed build out of the neighborhood and made final design decisions with key anchor tenants, ComSec is now proposing a modest amendment to the neighborhood sign plan to add finishing touches to the project. The changes fall into two basic categories: project identity and branding, and wayfinding, with one change proposed to the residential building signs. I'm going to go through them very, very briefly. First slide. All of the project branding slides fall into the A slide nomenclature. You'll see this at all of the top of all the signs. The A2 signs are small scale project identity signs. We're requesting one new Reston Station project sign at the top of the JW Marriott Hotel. It's the only project branding sign facing west. It's static, non-digital, and 330 square feet. Next. The A3.4 sign is a garage screen option for one facade. It's only on one building, building 5. It's wayfinding. It tells visitors where to conveniently park near their destinations. This is a digital option for an approved A3 sign. It was vertically oriented at staff's request to prevent conflicts with traffic lights, and it's much smaller than it was when it was approved. It's now 220 feet versus 360 and up to 450 square feet. Next. The A5 sign is a secondary pylon identity sign. We're asking for 2 A5 project signs that anchor the intersections of Road A and Reston Station Boulevard and Road A and Sunset Hills Road. And if you can see on the map, it's the 2 red dots at either ends of what we call Road A. Sorry, did someone say something? Okay, next.
I don't think so.
Okay, sorry. This is the A6 tenant wall signs. It's an artistic placemaking kinetic wall for Reston Row that mirrors the existing one at Reston Station. It's about 325 square feet, and it's made from very small metal panels that are meant to move in the wind. That's our project branding series. Next, we have one change to our residential identity signs. You might know that the residential building at Reston Station is named Boulevard. The residential building at Reston Row is going to be named Boulevard Haley, named for Chris Clemente, the CEO and chairman's daughter. So we're asking for a slight increase of the 2 signs at Reston Row to accommodate that name, Boulevard Haley. Okay, next series, the I, J, and K series of signs are all wayfinding signs. The I6 sign is a garage entrance identity. It just identifies garage entrance locations. There were 5 different design options approved, 3 of which are Metro Garage specific. We're adding a 6th option that provides the number of spaces that are available in that garage in real time, much like Reston Town Center and Tyson's Corner Center. Next, the I can't even read what that is. I-11. Sam, what's that one? It's a pedestrian.
It's I-11.
I-11. It all looks the same to me without my glasses. It's a pedestrian directional sign. It's wayfinding for pedestrians. We're proposing one in our corner park. So when people come into the project from Wheelie Avenue and Sunset Hills Road, they know where to go. And the other one is Road A and Reston Station Boulevard for people coming from the Metro or from Reston Station. The next J1 sign is vehicular wayfinding signs. These we're proposing in direct response to county and community complaints about getting around. We're proposing 18 signs that direct vehicles to key project points like accessible entrances, parking locations, and deliveries. Next. Excuse me, I have a bit of a sore throat. The K1 signs are service dock signs. It's a new sign type, and there are 4 building-mounted blade signs proposed for delivery trucks to avoid conflicts with vehicles and pedestrians. So that's the majority of the package that we have currently. The last sign, though, that we're going to discuss is called a D1 or unique tenant sign. In 2022, as the world emerged from COVID, Comstock developed a new class of signs that were intended to be offered to marquee tenants associated with the full Reston Station, Reston Row neighborhood, which would allow it to deftly deal make and fill the project with the most interesting, dynamic, and synergistic collection of tenants that it could. And it worked. Over the next few years, high-profile anchor tenants such as the JW Marriott, Ebbett House, and Booz, among others, signed on. To that end, In 2022, 16 D1 signs along the project's Dulles Toll Road frontage were approved in the neighborhood sign plan. 5 are located on the connector between office buildings 2 and 3. It's the black box in the middle of the 2 office buildings, and there's an excerpt pulled out at the top right of the slide. And that connector is already approved and installed, while the others are located on office buildings 2 and 3, designated on this exhibit in blue in the boxes. Comstock is not asking for any more D1 signs. The only ask that Comstock is making is that it's proposing to digitize an 1,800 square foot portion of the over 3,000 square foot connector to facilitate less disruptive and more efficient replacement of tenant logos as and if they demand. It's critical to note that the neighborhood sign plan is incredibly important for the global headquarters of Booz, one of Fairfax County's major employers, and the digitization of the connector is key to its branding. Booz sees it as critical to its ability to engage with customers, stakeholders, and the community in the face of current headwinds. Understanding, though, that the county and the community can be a bit skeptical about the now standard trend to digitize signage in the county's urban centers, Comstock has taken every possible measure to ensure that its digital package is appropriately scaled and its capabilities restricted to provide in advance appropriate mitigation. For example, Comstock's self-imposed limitations and restrictions related to the frequency, nature, and purpose of changing tenant logos, and added complete prohibitions on video and sound. Staff requested, and so Comstock committed to a minimum of 3 D1 signs on the connector to prevent it from potentially dedicating all of the sign area to one tenant, which staff thought would look like a billboard, and a maximum of 5, which is the same number of signs that are permitted today. In addition, individual D1 signs on the connector were previously allowed to be larger than 200 square feet, so long as the overall sign area on the connector did not exceed 1,800 square feet. The applicant removed that option and limited the size of every D1 sign to 200 square feet, reducing the total size of tenant logos on the connector to 1,000 square feet. Remember, out of the more than 3,000 square foot structure that's out there today. Comstock adjusted the materiality of the connector. The portion of the connector outside the designated sign area will be constructed with metal panels, removing the possibility of digitizing the entire connector, which had been raised as a concern. Next slide. At this point, Comstock has addressed in full every issue and/or concern raised by staff during the pendency of this case, and we are down to a singular point of disagreement with staff: the concept of digitalizing the designated portion of the approved connector, which comes down to a simple difference of opinion, nothing more. And having taken every precaution to prevent clutter, incompatibility, or disharmony with the building architecture, urban project design, or transit-oriented Reston Station neighborhood, we continue to believe that the digitization of what is an already approved sign is a reasonable ask, particularly because digital signs are becoming standard practice in urban centers and demanded by all competitive corporate tenants. Slide. Having created a bona fide destination and then given it a distinct project identity, Comstock is now responsible for helping its major tenants attract customers, increase exposure, and strengthen their brands. Providing dynamic and competitive signage opportunities also leads to better leasing, tenant retention, increased property values, and the creation of spaces that are attractive and functional for residents and businesses. All major benefits, particularly for the county, both as governing body and Reston Station's landlord. Happy to take questions.
Jill, I apologize. I should have said this at the beginning, but I will be recusing myself from any discussion or vote on this case and also on CMC.
Okay.
And I will take questions in order. And it is my understanding that Supervisor Alcorn would like us to take a vote, should we so desire, at the end of this discussion. Okay, looks like
Okay.
we have number 1 is Amy.
All right, take myself off of muting here. Thank you so much. So just a couple of things. Number 1, with you had kind of the pylons, the 2 new pylons that you were adding, and then you have those additional, they look like pylons, but they're the directional ones. And I guess what I was wondering is, can't there be a way that somehow that is incorporated in both. You know, like why do we need separate pylons saying this is Reston Station? Because okay, we know that. Can't those also then have that on one side and then the other sides have the directional? It just seemed like to have two of them sitting there only saying that and then other ones saying different things. I know if it was me and I was trying to figure out where I go, I'm probably going to walk around the thing trying to figure out if there's words on some side of it. So just something to consider with that. And then the only other thing, I mean, I can see why you're saying the controversy of the digital signs and the placement on that. As someone who prior to living in Northern Virginia lived in Las Vegas, it just kind of screamed a little Vegas-y to me, which is not exactly what I think of as in Reston. You know, and sometimes, I mean, I know you said it's not going to be video or it's just going to be a digital sign. You know, I personally, I have a membership to Vita. And one of the things, sometimes in the evenings, I like taking yoga classes. They have candlelit yoga classes and they're great. But the problem is based on where the windows face out to the yoga studio, there's digital signage in that area. And sometimes, you know, having flashing lights just kind of detracts from that. So I guess I would be one of those people that just feels like I wish a digital sign was not the option. It seems like you're doing the least Vegas-y version of it. But to me, that's just what I was getting from that.
Thank you for your feedback. I think, judging from what you were saying about the placement of the windows, I'm guessing that the sign to which you're referring is the Plaza digital sign, which is kind of a cake-like art installation. It's 7 rotating panels, and they all sort of rotate either together or individually. And on that is usually, you know, a winter scene or a fall scene, or it's intended.
Flag.
Yeah, it's not advertising at all. It's intended to be very, very artistic. That was approved via an administrative interpretation back in 2024. What we did was we took 7 individual digital signs that were meant to go all around that park, and we consolidated them into this one structure. So it's a significant piece of art, absolutely. But it's not 7 individual digital signs throughout the park. So we see it, and I know the county saw it as a pretty significant improvement. We hope you like it. The only other digital component that we're talking about is facing the toll road, so it wouldn't be interfering with anything happening in the row.
And Jill, just to note, that can't have flashing on it.
Oh, there's development, thanks, Dan. There's development conditions related to that that sign as well, and it can't have anything flashing on it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Amy. Jared.
Great. Thank you. So can we go to the wayfinding, the vehicular wayfinding signage? That was your J1 slide. Okay. I guess these right here. So the question I have is in the paperwork we received, you talked about purpose, and it also identifies event promotion and business identification information. What you're showing here is a lot of just directional. My question is, are we anticipating that these are going to start to also call out businesses? And then would you expect these to be like logoed up from a business perspective? Or is the aesthetic going to be this consistent flat color, white letters only, that kind of approach?
Yeah, it's a good question. This is the aesthetic. And to the extent that they do include any business name or logo on it, it's not intended to advertise, but rather to say, you know, the JW Marriott is over this way, so you want to go ahead and park in the garage over here. It's only for purposes of directing vehicles to the garage entrances that are most convenient to the destinations. It's not intended in any way to advertise, and they are intended to be streamlined. They're very sleek, they're very beautiful, and they're not intended to be Vegas-y.
Okay, well, right, and I think that was just, I think this is fine, it's great. You need wayfinding. I just don't want this to turn into another advertising piece, is I guess what I was asking about. Okay, and then my other question is if we go back to the slide that shows the facade of the building that faces the toll road where you're talking about the video. So it had like the blue boxes, this one right there.
Nobody.
Okay, so on this one where you're showing, I guess I'll just for my own benefit, the not in the yellow, but the other 6 to the left and the other 5 to the right. So we're not discussing those tonight. Those are already approved.
They're already approved, correct?
Okay. And then what this isn't showing some existing signage that's also on this building already. The
It's
new,
true.
the new star, the Rolls Royce is there, the secure port, but the new star and the ICF aren't there. Did those get approved in a separate package to be like in the upper left and upper right?
No, they're approved. They're already approved. We're not
Okay.
asking for anything new on the frontage. There is a plan sheet in the approved comprehensive sign plan amendment that we're sort of repeating in the special exception that shows all of the signs potentially on this, all the sign types and all the signs because staff wanted to have sort of a full picture of sort of what build out could look at. But we really wanted to focus this conversation about things that are sort of up for debate. And so those are not a part of the conversation, which is the reason that we're only showing you this one.
Okay. Yeah, and that was my question was going to be, is there an intent like this? There's a CVS sign that is like off to the left of where you're showing the proposed digital signage. Would that be something that we get moved onto the digital format, or are you expecting any physical signage there would remain? This is completely in addition to it, sounds like.
Any physical signage will remain, but just one thing I want to be very clear about. So these blue squares that you see on the connector, these 5 signs, they are also already approved in exactly this way, in exactly this location, and exactly these sizes. Literally, the only thing that we're talking about is making digital the area inside the yellow line.
Yeah.
Like inside the yellow box.
Okay.
Everything else is already approved.
Okay. And I totally get that. I get it because companies obviously change their brand. It's a pain to change up physical signage and it costs them a lot of money. So I understand the benefit of, if I was a business, I would want a digital sign. It's way cheaper for me to update my brand. My question on that, when you said it's not going to show video, which is good, I just want to confirm, are you also, but does that also mean static imagery for what's there? Or like, would JW Marriott consider, like, I can't blink, but is it going to slowly change color, right? Or are these truly going to be static digital signs?
These are truly static digital signs. I'm just looking at the plan to remind myself on how often they can change. We went back and forth a couple of times.
Once per day.
Oh, yeah, maximum they can change once per day. And
If it's the very it's right here. This text is lifted straight from the sign plan conditions. And if you look at the very bottom bullet.
Thanks. So it's not even like, there's other developments in the county that the text changes every 4 seconds. Tyson's Corner Center changes every 10 seconds. They're doing it much more frequently. This is really, really intended to allow Comstock and its tenants to sort of definitely change if they need to, to meet their leasing demands. That's what it's for.
Okay, great. Thank you for calling that out. That was the one thing I wanted to confirm around video. So that answers my questions.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Jared. Lynn.
Thank you. I don't have to unmute myself. Yay. Jill, thank you for the presentation. I do have a question that does not pertain to your presentation this evening, and that is, when was the lighted sign on top of the JW Marriott approved?
In 2022.
And that was the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors?
No, ma'am. At the time, it was just the Planning Commission because the format of the application was a comprehensive sign plan that did not go onto the board. So it was only approved by the Planning Commission.
Okay, I just want to make a note that we are getting a lot of complaints about the intensity of the lumens on that sign. And if there's any way for you all to dim that, it would really be appreciated by the folks that live on the south side of Reston. So my question in terms of your presentation this evening pertains specifically to the digital sign that's being proposed for the connector. I did a little research, and you know that along the toll road, we have no bulletin boards, right? So an average bulletin board is 14 by 48. What you are proposing is huge, exponentially from a billboard. And I do have to say that I personally find it to be an offense to the senses, driving down the toll road, to have that kind of distraction. I have to say that I will not be voting for this, in favor of this evening.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Is that all?
That's all.
Okay. William. You need to unmute. William, you need to unmute if you're
Okay.
speaking.
Yep. All right. So I had a lot of trouble working my way through this and visualizing along the steps of the way. So let me just focus on the issue that Lynn also referred to, and that's brightness and the direction of any of the newly lit signs. Wayfinding signs, I'm fine with that. Most of those are internal, but how many face outside of Reston Row? And how many of those are lit? And how brightly lit will they be?
I mean, I think the intention is for all signs to be lit in one way or another so that, you know, they can be seen at night, but they all have to be in conformance with the, you know, the lighting code. And there's development conditions that are associated with the governing CSP that will be carried forward with this application that do, and Sam, if you can go to that, the slide that has all the conditions on it. This is just for the connector, but to give you some example, you can see at the bottom there that it says that, you know, they'll include a photocell to control brightness and automatically dim at sunset, and all the while staying within, you know, a county approved ranges for brightness. And then all of the signs that are lit all have, you know, sort of similar restrictions on the sheets where they are in the plan or in the development conditions.
So how bright is that? Which, I mean, so it is the only one that is going to be lit for more than the people who are walking by it, the big sign at the end of the connector, or are there other ones being discussed that would involve lighting that reaches out to people at a greater distance than the immediate site?
I mean, the ones that I can think of, right, are, you know, like the residential building signage, for example, the Boulevard Haley sign. Sam, do we have lighting restrictions on that? Is that lit?
It can be lit, and I believe it's lit from, oh, let me
I
grab,
think it's
hold on one
internally
second.
lit, sort of LED, but it's not digital. So I think we're talking about two different things, right? We're talking on the one hand about digital signs. And the only digital signs up for your consideration are the toll road sign that I just talked about and one parking sign, which we want to be digital and we want to be bright enough. It's you know, it's internal and people need to know.
That's the one internal showing you where the garage is.
On Building 5, yeah.
Yeah. That's fine.
Right. But other than that, you know, the other sort of tenant signs, office tenant signs, retail tenant signs, you know, residential tenant signs, they're meant to be seen, and they're non-digital, they're static signs, but they're lit. If that makes any sense. But all of the lighting has to conform with the county's ordinance.
Yeah, which doesn't tell me much because I don't know the ordinance. Can you
I
give me?
mean,
So give it to me in this sense, to use Lynn's point about the JW Marriott sign, which to a lot of people coming down the toll road or in South Reston looks really bright. How would the Boulevard Haley sign compare, for example?
Well, first of all, I think it's smaller. So there's that. And I don't think that and Sam will correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that this sign is on a lit background, whereas the JW Marriott sign is, right? It's a gray-black background with white logos and lettering on it. This is just the sign, if that makes any sense.
I'm not. It may make sense, but not to me.
Okay, I'm not explaining it very well.
So are you saying that it's the letters Boulevard Haley
Correct.
are not lit?
No, they are lit.
They are lit.
Are they lit by an external that happens to shine on them, or are they broadcasting their lighting?
They're internally lit.
Right. The existing Boulevard sign is lit the same way, and it's internally illuminated, which is internally illuminated signage is I'm trying to think of an existing sign that's out there that you might be familiar with.
Okay, maybe you can pull the Boulevard. Can you quickly like Google, see if you can find an image of the Boulevard at Reston Station?
Yes, give me 1 second.
Okay.
Is it going to be colored light? Is it going to be white light?
No, it's hold on 1 second. I can tell you that it is eternally channel lit letters with black perforated vinyl.
What does that mean?
It's a traditional lit sign, typical of any kind of retail or establishment like that. Let me pull up an example.
So, William, I think what I'm trying to say, the difference is that the JW Marriott sign, the logo and the letters, right, are on a lit screen, which is why it looks so bright. These letters, all these other signs that we're talking about, the letters themselves are lit, but they're building mounted. They're not mounted on a lit screen. Does that make more sense?
It doesn't really give me a clear sense of what we're getting into. So
think of like a traditional sign that you see at a Kohl's, like anything that's on a Panera sign. I'm trying to think of other traditionally.
It's no brighter than a Panera sign.
I mean, that's the intention. It's an approximation.
But here's I just grabbed a screen grab. Let me pull it over so you guys can see it. Although it maybe is.
Thanks.
Give me 1 second. I have to change my sharing style. So this is the existing. Can you see my screen? This is the existing Boulevard sign, and that's at dusk. You can see it's at dusk, and that one is illuminated. Is that helpful?
That one looks white. The one on your picture looks black. That's why I don't know. Would it be lit like this?
The lighting style is the same. The color is just different.
Okay. To the digitized sign, how bright will that be? Again, I'm just
it's hard to define a nit.
Well, I mean, I'm sensitive to the brightness given the reaction that I share with Lynn to the JW Marriott sign, and particularly it's being broadcast to neighborhoods in the South. And I suppose you're building most of that. Well, how is it going to appear to the people in the South, or will it be blocked by your buildings on the other side of the toll road and not be an issue?
I mean, it's blocked by the metro. It's blocked by the buildings on the other side of the toll road, right? I mean, this is, it's a very dense urban development. So there's a lot of pieces, and it's all meant to sort of be woven together in the fabric of this project. So I mean, I don't think it's disharmonious. It is not nearly as high up in the sky as the JW Marriott sign is. That's a good example. You can see how tall the JW Marriott is as compared to what we're discussing, which is, eye level with the metro, essentially. So you're not going to be able to see it from as far away. It's much smaller.
Is it going to be like the fish?
The Shark Tank?
Yeah.
No, because that's kind of a rolling video, right? You can't do that. Again, this can't change more than once a day. So it's not going to be streaming or rolling video.
All right. All right. Well, I remain sort of puzzled visualizing it. But I guess I don't have any questions that'll help me visualize it better.
We can see if we can pull some things together and circulate it to the membership, if
Okay.
we can come up with some
Might be
representative
helpful.
images. Yeah, and the easiest way to do that really is to pull from the existing Reston Station neighborhood, right? It's more or less fully signed and up, and our intention is to have like one theme, sign wise, placemaking art throughout the entire, 17 and a half acre neighborhood. So I mean, we'll be
Yeah.
happy to pull together some representative images. It's just so hard to describe in the abstract, but that's not a
I
problem.
understand. Yeah.
We'll do that,
Okay.
no problem.
Anything else, Bill?
No. No.
All right, thank you. Jeremy?
Yeah, actually, I'm mostly just going to echo what Lynn had said about, I mean, I think by and large, the signage is pretty good. It's the digitization that I'm concerned about. I live and work near the Reston station, and I've always thought that the digital signage that's already in place is a nuisance. And it just doesn't seem to me like Comcast has been a good steward of the privilege of having digital signage. And so I'm really reluctant to give the go-ahead on any other digital signage. And I realize that there have been a lot of restrictions placed on this sign by the AHJ, and I appreciate that. But I don't know, when there's things like self-limiting, saying that Comcast is self-limiting things, I don't put much stock in that because they have not done a good job of self-limiting the stuff that they've done thus far. The question that I do have about the going back to Bill's question about the brightness, I know you were telling us in nits, and I didn't grab a pen fast enough to write it down. How many nits is this thing, and what's the overall size of the digital signage that's on the tollway?
So it's going to be 1,000 square feet of signs of logos. It's going to be 5 different tenant logos, Booz, JW, sort of the premier anchor tenants who you should know really chose this site in large part because of its signage opportunities. I mean, nowadays in leasing, signage is the #1 hottest issue for all of these tenants. They're all looking for opportunities, and having this frontage on the toll road is a real asset. But it's 5 different logos. They're 200 square feet each. So it's so although the black screen that you're seeing, the full black screen is 3,136 square feet. Okay. The digital signs is a third of that. It's only 1,000 square feet. It's much, much smaller.
But there was a light output number that you had flashed up, and I didn't get a chance to write it down.
I think it's 155. It's in the materials that we circulated.
right.
Hopefully you all got them.
Oh yeah, there
It's-
it is. Okay, the
it's no-
155 nits. Okay,
Yeah,
got
no
it.
more than.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so just really fast, just talk to the sort of self-limiting, Comstock isn't walking, up to the supervisor and taking an oath and saying, we'll limit it, no problem. It's in the plans. I mean, it becomes a binding, obligation and restriction, which if they violate, they're going to be, held in, in a zoning violation. So it's not, they're not raising their hands and swearing. They're actually committing to it. And when I say self-limiting, I mean that they are proposing these limitations. They are coming from Comstock. They are not being imposed on them, right? They are voluntarily agreeing to these things to make sure that you and everyone in the community have comfort that they're not doing Times Square. They're not doing Vegas. They're not even doing Tyson's Corner Center at all. They're just trying to help their key tenants succeed, in a way that's now standard practice kind of everywhere.
Sure. I mean, I'm sure it's standard practice in Las Vegas and standard practice in Times Square, but and I can understand why this is an asset for the corporations, but I don't see it as an asset for the community.
Okay.
That's all I've got.
Okay,
All
thank you
right,
for your
thank you.
feedback.
Mike Jennings.
Thanks, John. Jill, question, the disagreement that you and staff are having, is it just about they don't want any digital signage or particular elements of what you're saying you will do with in terms of self-limiting the digital signage?
So they agree with everything that we're doing. And, I've had conversations individually, with folks all the way up, from our staff coordinator to the Tyson or to the Reston branch chief to Suzanne Wright to Tracy Strunk, right? And they all agree that we are doing the maximum amount that we can do to limit what goes on here. Frankly, the staff coordinator doesn't like digital signs. It's a disagreement. They've even said it's going to come down to this point of disagreement over whether we should have digital signs here is essentially what it is, and nothing more, nothing less. But you can ask them directly. I mean, we've done everything that we can possibly do to make this as pleasant and as harmonious and as pleasing to the eye as possible. They acknowledge that. They're just
Okay.
not into digital signs.
Do you happen to know when the JW Marriott top of the building is lit as bright as possible, how many nits that is?
Off the top of my head, no, but I'm guessing that Sam might be able to tell you as we're talking. She'll pull it from the approved plan.
I mean, it looks like about 1 million nits, but
Well,
because
also,
I'll tell you,
It's probably only 10.
I'll tell you that if that thing would have ever come in front of this committee, it would have never made it. You guys are
Understood.
lucky that it went, because I lived probably 1.5 miles south of that sign with lots of trees around my house, and it's still like, sunrise when it comes on. And so I see that you're committing to the background of this area with these, these logos and everything will always be black. And I think that's going to be a major help. But, I think I'm going to be ready to, with Supervisor Alcorn's email, if that thing goes out of control. Because all the other signage you're proposing is I like it. It's attractive. It makes sense for people trying to find their way. But I just don't want another JW Marriott, daylight sign. So that's
understand.
my.
Yeah, I understand. One thing I'll say about that is I'm learning a lot about digital signs. A lot of this is new to me as well. But apparently when you're installing a sign like the JW Marriott sign, even though the intention is only to have, for example, the white, JW Marriott logo and name be really lit, in order to install the sign, you have to actually burn in all of the bulbs in the entire panel. So what you saw in the beginning probably was some color, some lights, a little bit of inconsistency. None of that was the permanent state of the sign. All of it was just testing the sign and getting it operational. Since the JW Marriott actually opened and launched the sign, it hasn't changed, right? The background has been gray or black.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I would agree with that. I would swear I've seen that sign with brightness at times, and sometimes even color. I mean, I'm not so sure about that, Jill. I'm not willing to give on that.
Okay. I mean, I spoke to, Chris Clemente himself about it today. He assured me it hasn't changed since they opened.
Well,
He
I'll
did
tell you, that's not
say-
giving me a lot of comfort that
Well,
things are going to be
wait.
okay here.
Okay, but he did say that they had some that because it wasn't burned in properly when we set it up, that they needed to do some additional testing. And maybe that's what you saw. but the sign
Could
is
be,
intended.
you know,
So, and this is digital, it is tech, there is going to be some maintenance on it, right? But that is not how the sign appears. And what you see now is what it will be. And that's just maintenance and
okay,
operations of digital signs. If you
okay,
see something, you can call me directly. How about that? Walter does, so
okay.
you can also.
All right, that's all I have. Thanks for listening.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike. Tammy.
Thank you. Um, wow. I couldn't agree more with Mike Jennings on the JW Marriott. I happen to be a passenger in a car on Sunrise Valley and approaching Wheelie from the west, and I about jumped out of my skin. This was in daylight at the brightness and hugeness of the JW Marriott roof sign. Horrendous. We were stopped at a light, and I was looking over trying to decide, is that thing even plumb? And I know it's a sort of triangular mass that the sign is mounted on, or includes a triangular mass for the background. Horrendous. Horrendous. Horrible, terrible, bad. One other thing that is not signage per se, but makes me extremely nervous about Comstock's promises for the fluorescent or LED lighting on the wayfinding signage, is the fact that for years or Comstock has had the trees along Wheelie wound with lights that are blue white LEDs. Now it's Christmas, and there are a blue white light looks like an X-ray technician's office. It's not soft, it's not natural, it's not pretty, and I expect the intent was to outline the beauty of the natural flow of the trees. Instead, it's like a monster trees there.
Tammy, I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking. Can you explain me more what you're talking about?
Yes,
I'm not sure I
between
understand.
the Jan trapezoid building and the roadway, the trees that are immediately adjacent to the Jan building foundation.
Okay.
Okay, they're immediately east of the Jan foundation of that trapezoidal building. That's number one. It makes me nervous. Is the background on the LED / or fluorescent lights going to be soft, or is it going to be a blue white light?
Oh, it's
That
gonna
makes
be
a huge difference. Your signs shown on your presentation are lovely. However, you don't have anything showing what things look like at night. And I would really have loved to have seen that, because the tops of your buildings and some of the X's on the Jan building windows are red. And you can see that from way north and south. Perhaps when CMC south of the Dulles Toll Road is built, we won't see them as much. But believe me, the people north are going to always see it. And the people coming east and west on the tollway will always see it. So the red is, I'm aware of airport safety and alerting pilots where the tall buildings are. But if those start flashing, changing color, or any other thing, holy smokes. And yet this committee is supposed to judge what's going on with Comstock and the lighting plan, and yet we don't have any photograph of what things look like at night. It is night half the time. So we really would have appreciated that level of detail. I'm extremely worried, as other people have previously said, about this digitization. changing once a day. I so appreciated Jared Zern's comment about when logos are changed, what a pain in the neck and expense it is to change that for Comstock. I'm 100% empathetic to that, but also very wary of something that can change once a day. Why would you do that? The other issue I have is, why is that that Dulles Tollway gigantic 1,000 square foot sign not centered in the box? Why is it toward the bottom third?
Okay, may I respond?
Sure.
Cool. So sort of working backwards, it's not going to be in the bottom at all. We can move that sort of box, and chances are it'll move, maybe up. The fact is that, the tenant logos that are going to go on there, right? The shapes and sizes of the logos themselves, like they all have to be within 200 square feet, but the sort of the shape and the configuration of the logos is going to change based on whatever that tenant logo actually is. So it's not going to be, in that precise location. It's just meant to give an idea of sort of the fact that there is a small limited portion of this much bigger structure that's going to house these digital signs, but it's not going to necessarily be placed in that way, if that makes any sense. The changing once a day, again, I'm having trouble reading my signs, but that is the maximum. The language is supposed to say, hold on one second. Okay, so the language says text and logos may change to accommodate tenant demand, but not more than once a day. So really what it's intended to do is, if the tenant says, either the tenant's leaving, relocating, changes its branding, changes its logo, changes marketing, we're allowed to do that. But we needed to put some sort of maximum on it so that the tenants can't come and say, well, we want our logo to be, ever changing or morphing or something like that. So that's meant to be a maximum, but really and truly it's intended for those logos to change only as the tenants themselves change their logos or leave or relocate within the premises. I mean, that again, like a Tyson's Corner Center, for example, they're allowed to have their tenants change every 10 seconds. And that,
we're
I would
not
say,
we're not
is a
Tyson's.
billboard.
This is Reston.
I know, and that's terrible. And I agree with you. Horrendous, horrible, bad. I agree with you, which is why we're not doing any of those things. Right? It's just the logos, and the digitization is not meant to light up the world. It's meant to facilitate our ability to change them as we need to. The tenants are, they move and they come in and they come out, and they change spaces, they change buildings.
That's
I know you
understandable.
do.
You don't have to beat that horse to death.
Cool.
Regarding the digitization, that Marriott thing is horrendous.
Understood.
And I don't know how we get that toned down, but that is a major error in judgment. So
okay, well, we can look at what the lighting is. Again, I want to make sure we're all sort of clear that as much as we have feelings about that sign and are emotional about that sign, it's fine. We get it. You can talk to me. I'll listen. I'll do what I can. It is approved. It is permitted. It is not part of this application.
Well, I don't know who the hell approved it so that it's
The
like
county
a
did.
spotlight over South Reston.
Right.
That's
And
a hell
actually,
no.
I think
That didn't, that did not, that it does not serve half the residents of Reston. So
Understood.
the other thing that I find confusing and empathetic to Chris Clementi's daughter being named Haley, but we have Haley Rise to the west. Why in God's green earth would Comstock choose Haley Boulevard to name a major building in the Comstock Station Row? I don't know. That will be extremely confusing to people to hear that Haley name when there is already a Haley Rise. So that is disturbing, and I would request that another name be selected for that building that is not confusing. I understand it's spelled with one L versus two, but the name is phonetically the same and will confuse people trying to figure out what's going on and how this all works. I'm excited that Booz Allen is moving in. Yay. I think that's good. And I hope the red lighting stays red and doesn't go to blue or some other color. But I think Jared is right in his concerns, and certainly Mike and Lynn and people who have spoken before me. So I have real reservations about this plan. Thank you.
Thanks, Tammy.
Thank you, Tammy. Lynn, I think your hand is up, but I don't know if that was up.
It
before.
is. I did have one other question. I'm
Oh, sure, okay.
sorry. I
okay.
had yeah. So, yeah, in it, beyond the digital sign, my question is, I took a tour of the site today, and as I was heading east on Sunset Hills, I noticed on the south side where the station access road is, and I took a picture of this. If I can share my screen, I'll be happy to show you the picture. But it looks like the side of building A has blue painter's tape in this huge area. And I don't know if there was some plan for signage there, or and if you'd like me to share my screen, I can share a photograph of what I took today.
I mean, you don't have to, it's not signage, right? Because the building is not open yet. So it's not signage. They're constructing it. It's under construction. So it's hard to speak to what it is, but I can tell you that whatever it is not.
So
a
there's
permanent
no
condition.
huge signage going up there
No, ma'am.
at Station Access Road?
Not on the, you said on building A?
Yes,
On the west side of the project, the office building.
right.
I mean, it's under construction. John Harrison, are you aware of something here?
Not only they're trying to finish the facade, and then usually they blue skin the insulation board is the only thing I think. And there's some blue tape where they're still finishing the skin of the building on Reston Station Boulevard, but it looks like painter's tape because it's they've got some finishing they've got to do. But that side of the project is kind of in the midst of getting cladded up with metal panels and
That's it.
other things. Yeah, they're just
Oh, that's not.
yeah.
Okay. Well, you can imagine what I
That's
would be
wonderful.
thinking if I saw the blue tape and it's like, what's going on there? Okay, great. All right.
Yeah,
Thank
they're
you.
just not done.
Yeah, that's waterproofing that hasn't been painted yet.
Okay. Again, I've got to say that I'm not a fan of the digital signage, and but thank you for answering my second question. That's it.
Sure.
Thank you, Lynn. William.
Yes, I'm going to go along with everybody's comments about the digital signage and the colors and intensity. And Tammy was very right to bring forward the idea of why are we duplicating a name here with an already well-established, much larger area, namely Haley Rise. Haley Rise is a major area about the size of the entire Reston Station area. And I think it's just going to lend confusion as to where we are. Yes, it's spelled differently, but it's pronounced the same. And it's just, being a resident here since 1969, when it was very hard to get around Reston at all because it was all dark at night and there was no signage anywhere. It's great to see signage. And I like I guess you would say, location oriented, especially towards pedestrians and vehicular and where you're going or where you've been or where you hope to want to try to go. But this duplication of same sounding names that are so too dissimilar is not good. And one of the things that I also want to point out when people start talking about intensity of lighted signage at night or late evenings, Reston is part of the Dark Skies Initiative. And I will just simply say that, go out and look at it, because it seems to me that likely no one on the presentation side even knows what that means, or they really wouldn't be talking about all these brightly lit signs. So that's one of several reasons why you won't have my vote until we see some changes.
Okay. Yeah, I actually did the entitlements for Haley Rise, so I could certainly speak to them. It actually did come after the 2010 Reston Station development, but
Yeah, but it's
the man's
the
daughter's
name of
name, right?
Haley
I
certainly
get
didn't
it,
come
but it's
after
the,
Haley Rise.
I get it, but it's the man's daughter's name, and the
Yeah.
nomenclature is
But the
intended to
problem
say,
is that it doesn't matter whether it's the man's daughter's name or not. I like that.
understood.
And it's unfortunate thing is that I'm sorry, but I don't think it should be used. I
That's
mean,
fine.
it's like I'm sad for him because it's a great thing to do
She's a
for your
great kid.
children in the future, and it's really great because it lends personalization. But you know, Haley Rise is sitting over there in a very large area of its own, and it's just, you know, like Haley who, Haley where, Haley what? You know, is Haley Boulevard part of Haley Rise? Where am I now? You know, it's like Reston was hard enough to move around in the early days, and this is just not going to help that at all. It's bad
I
enough that
appreciate
we have
your feedback.
Sunrise and Sunset Boulevards, and you got to figure out which way you're
We
going to figure
we
out
didn't
which
do
one
that,
you're on.
William. That wasn't us.
I understand, but still.
I
You know,
get
it's
it. I
like-
get it. I'm not arguing with you. I appreciate your feedback. I understand. The idea was to keep the boulevard nomenclature, right? The Reston Station building is Boulevard. This one is also Boulevard. That's why it doesn't just say Haley. It says Boulevard and then Haley in script. So it was intended to not be confusing and to keep the nomenclature that was established at Reston Station in 2010. I understand your feedback. It's his daughter. That's all I can really say about that one.
Try the initials instead of the name.
I'll pass it along. Actually, John,
Sure.
why don't you go ahead and pass it along?
All right.
Thank you.
Anything
Or
else?
their middle name, something.
All right. Anything else,
Okay.
William?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. David and or Sue.
Yes, good evening. I think I'll go first. We both have some comments to make. I'm gonna join the group that says we don't need signs like that along the toll road. There are any number of very large to very small companies that for years have had prominent, visible signage on their buildings, and they didn't light them up like a Christmas tree. Also, I think the first large error, and I'm not quite sure how it was made, but the first large error at Reston Station was taking a building that has, to my eye, mildly interesting architecture and sticking neon tubes on it. I don't know how that got through, but it really, really needs to come off. And so the sign, the signs against the toll road, I think would be just fine without the lighting, without the backdrop, without the neon effect, without the without broadcasting something that frankly has reached a pretty significant negative level. The building, some of the buildings down the way at the next station are a little overdone. One building has a big white light around the top of it, and it doesn't doesn't look very good at all. I think this whole thing needs to be reevaluated because it's not working. It's not good.
I agree with David that there are better ways of advertising. I think the size and type and the look of a digitized sign will likely set a precedence for more digital signs like it in Reston. Reston, DRB, they're the experts, the historians on signage in Reston, and I really think it's time to have a conversation with Reston DRB on the concept of digitizing signs. Does Reston want it? Do they not? And why? I know we moved to Reston in 1979 and really appreciated a focus on the clean white letters, clean white lights for signage. That to me reflected a connectivity between sort of living and working in Reston, where trees are prominent and green environment is a priority. And I also agree with William. We're with all of the intensity of lights, we're confusing the birds.
May I
That's all.
respond? May I respond? Thank you, Sue. Thank you, David.
If I could add just one more thing, well, no, I'll pass. Go ahead.
I'm happy to come back. Let me, if you don't mind, let me just respond to Sue and David. So with regard to the concept of digitizing signs generally, right? Fairfax County amended its zoning ordinance recently to include specific language about digital signs. They have accepted that it's practice, it's common practice. They have accepted that it's everywhere, and they've adopted it in its zoning ordinance. And so while what we're talking about here really needs to be, what do we do with it so that it looks good, operates well, serves the functions that it needs to serve, right? But the fact of digital signage is not really in dispute at this point. And while I recognize and appreciate your concerns about Reston and your respect for the trees and the lights, I understand that. But what we're really talking about here is a digital sign on the dullest toll road. I'm not suggesting that it go in the middle of Lake Anne or in the middle of the trees or in the middle of, anything that's preserved and is beautiful. It's on the highway. So respectfully, I don't know that I disagree that it's disharmonious, for that reason. And I would ask you all to think about, what do we do when we have, our leasing folks out there, they're meeting with these big tenants. We're in an office market spiral that we've been in for however many years. And these tenants are saying, we want our signs to be digital or we're out. What do we do? How do we not respond with something that can accommodate them and still give back to the county's, tax base and still sort of make the office market come alive again? I mean, everybody was happy that booze is coming here. Everybody across the board, right? I heard, Tammy say it, others have said it, the supervisor has said it, everyone's happy about it. This sign is critical to booze. This is their top priority. So
You're kidding.
both things can't, I'm not kidding. And John can speak to it. I'm absolutely not kidding. So both things can't be true, right? I mean, there has to be some give and take here. And my position is, if you give us the digital option so that we can accommodate this tenant, we will give you back as many sort of limitations and restrictions on video, on audio, on changing imagery, on text, on brightness, on a number of logos, number of signs, placement of those things to make it work for everybody. But a flat out, no, we don't like it. I can't do anything with that. I can't do anything with that any more than I can go tell Chris Clemente that his daughter should not be named Haley. So I welcome your, any feedback that can help me close the gap here. But the answer can't be, no, we don't want it. I can't do anything with that, guys.
Have you talked with DRB about it?
This is the first time that we've been asked by anybody at any point in time in the almost 10 years since this application or this case has been evolving, to talk to anybody outside Planning Commission. Walter asked us to sit down with you all. We're happy to do it anytime. We value your opinions. We welcome your feedback. But no, I mean, it hasn't. This is a whole new paradigm, right, for us. So no is the answer. Also, we're not within Reston Association.
Sue,
Well-
anything else? Or David?
Yeah, just one other comment. The rest of your signs, the internal signs, the wayfinding signs, all that, the Reston thing, those all, even if they are internally lit, are just fine.
Thanks.
It looks good. It looks good. It tells you exactly where you don't want to be because it's a loading dock or, whatever it happens to be. That's all wonderfully done. It's just and whether or not it faces the trees or the toll road, I just think it's, and I'm not alone in this, at least in this group. And I would concur that with Sue that the DRB really is a place that you need to stop and talk to because they know more about this than pretty much anybody.
We're setting a precedence.
Okay.
Thanks for,
I see a few more people keep raising their hands. Feels like we're starting to repeat some of the same comments. So if you have new comments, please share them. Or if you're going to agree, that's fine, but just please do so quickly so we can move this along. Looks like William or Bill Penniman.
I just want to clarify my earlier comments. I want to be clear. I am not unalterably opposed to digital signs. I understand your arguments. My only request is tone down the brightness and restrict the potential impact on the people on the south side. And I think your point that it's facing the toll road is probably a good part of the answer to that. And maybe the other buildings, including the metro building and the ones you're going to build, will take care of those concerns. But just that would be helpful. Beyond that, I would say I don't think it's for the P&Z committee to decide the names of buildings or to go back and reopen decisions made in the past, even if we don't like them. And there are some I don't like. But I would ask if, as a courtesy, if you could talk to the Marriott people about, is there a way they can just dim it somewhat, to do something? Because I know they're sensitive to community reactions.
I can work on
would
that.
be helpful.
That's something that I can work on.
Yeah, and they may not do it, and I understand the
But
importance
I can
of it.
try. That is something I can try.
But the digitization of a sign that's facing the toll road per se, I don't think it's a big threat to birds because they're probably not flying that direction on the toll road. And I am sensitive to birds. Let me be clear. I just don't think that's the spot. It's a threat. And contrary to others, I actually kind of like those tube lights on the building, but I am in a minority. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bill. Katie.
Yep. Hey, good afternoon or good evening. I just want to say something. I know people keep going back to the JW Marriott sign, and I will just say, just because the county made a mistake approving some large light up sign in the past, it doesn't mean we have to continue to make the same mistakes. And so digital signs, they remind me of the billboards. If you go on I-95, you see Pedro south of the border, every exit, as you get close to the South Carolina thing. I don't think the Dulles Toll Road, we need digital billboards. It has a cheesy feel that is not Reston. Tyson's Corner, perfect spot for them. It's kind of it's like its own district. That is not Reston. Reston is not urban. Earlier you said something about urban. We're not an urban community. We are like a suburban planned community with, we have a TSA urban feel, but we don't live in an urban city center. I'm concerned, again, I think just to agree with what Sue said, I know you don't have to talk to DRB because you all are not part of Reston Association, but you want to be good neighbors and at least see where does Reston Association kind of want to go with digital billboards, if at all. So that's just what I want to say. And something else, I know you said something about, well, we got to work with you because it's going to be a tax base for Fairfax County. I can't believe Booz Allen is not going to want to move if they can't get a digital billboard on. I mean, then that's what I'm saying. So I can't. So then you do one digital thing for Booz Allen, but all these other tenants are already there. So I don't know. I don't like it. I think it's very cheesy, and that is very not Reston. It's more Tyson's Corner feel. I don't think it's the right fit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Reese.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for the presentation, all the community members for their comments so far. I'm not going to relitigate the digital sign aspect of it and just assume, let's say it's hypothetically approved. I'm thinking about, the transit-oriented development and the TSA, and a big part of that is, Fairfax County's commitment to sustainability, and thinking about an 1,800 square foot digital billboard. That's not a insignificant amount of energy use and related emissions. And I'm just wondering if either from the Comstock side or one of those anchor tenants like Booz Allen, like, I feel like it would be good messaging to Reston saying that we're, committed to sustainability, maybe covering that energy use with renewable energy certificates, some sort of gesture in that sense that says we're still aligned with like that sustainability goal. I'm just wondering if that's
We can
something
look
that's
at
been
that.
broached.
That's a new idea. And so it's something that we can look at. Thank you for that suggestion.
Thank you.
I'm writing it down.
Thank you, Reese. Jared, looks like your hand is up again.
Yeah, so I'll circle back on Jill, sort of your point about like what could help maybe move this forward. One, I do think it's the aesthetic and the lack of seeing it at night, like from a rendered perspective. I was doing some super quick research, so you can't hold me to any of this, but it looks like in Fairfax County that in a residential neighborhood, the night lighting limit is 100 nits for signage, and yours is 155. So I'm curious if a thing to go back and look at are two things. One, setting a maximum of 100 instead of 155. Second, putting more of a smart sensor in there, because some of the other quick research I've done shows that if you light at a level of like 40 nits above the ambient light in an area, so that way it actually becomes a smarter digital sign if it's a digital sign. So it's not just a certain, we flip the lights on and it's a certain brightness during the day and we dim it at night, but it truly could adjust to the conditions. So that may also calm things down from the perspective of, hey, if it's a brighter night, the sign could be a little lighter up to 100. If it's a darker night, it naturally stays lower. So I think those are some things if you could look at.
I think it does that for what it's worth.
Okay,
I can't,
maybe.
don't hold me to it, but I mean, I think it does that.
Okay, so it's adjustable up to a maximum. And then
I'm not sure, but I think
okay.
so.
And then I think the other thing about it too, which is where digital stands out to me aesthetically from your traditional like backlit signs like we were talking about, is the fact that it's digital. So is there also a way to, you talked about what are the rules in place? Are there rules could be put in place to, if it's digital, to render it in a way that it actually renders similar to what a, physical sign would look like, right? You can graphically edge, you can light in, inside, like there's some tricks. And I almost think that's something where, having worked with a bunch of graphic artists, that's the kind of design which would calm this down, I think, from a being presented onto the toll road. So my suggestion would be to look at some of those things, and I think it'd be beneficial to come back with some more of nighttime renderings versus kind of these really flat static graphics that we're looking at right now.
Okay, I appreciate that. So one thing that's really difficult here, right, is that the whole point of this package is that it's meant to be sort of a living document. It's meant to be dynamic, to adapt and change to the different tenants that are coming in, right? And so it's a hard thing to render and commit to and say, this is exactly what it will look like when we aren't for sure, which tenants are going to have, I mean, we have a good idea of which tenants are going to have signs there. Like I said, it's, without disclosing confidential things, it's in a lot of the leases. So, but we don't know for sure what their logo choices are going to be, or, we can just give them the size restrictions. So it's very hard for us to render something that looks like what it will actually for sure look like. And then it looks like we were being dishonest. So I understand what you're saying. It's really difficult to do that. So what we tried to do in the plan is show you, most likely it's just going to be black background, with the white logos, but we put in it, staff asked us to, and so we did, what it could look like if all the different tenants insist on using their own sort of color branded logos, right? And that was our attempt to say, here's sort of the worst case with, this is if these guys all decide to sort of go with what they have. But past that, it's really hard to figure it out at this stage. I will also say, having dealt, with the sign permitting people, and Sam on my team has done it more than I. So, the specs that you have to submit are pretty detailed. So a lot of what you're just asking for, Jared, is provided to the sign permitting review team before we get our permits. But without more information now about who's going to be there and what it's going to look like, it's really hard to do that. But the other points I take and we'll look at, and we can talk about it.
All right, thank you. Anything else, Jared? Okay. Any other committee members? Looks like no more comments or questions. Anyone in the community wish to ask a question or speak? If so, please raise your hand. Mark, has anyone indicated they want to chat?
I don't see any hands up.
Okay. Very good. Are anyone would like to make a motion?
Can I interject really fast before you do that? And
Yes,
I don't
ma'am.
mean to sort of intrude on your process, but it's going to be no surprise to me where this vote's going, based on sort of all the comments that we received. Is it possible at least to bifurcate your vote to be the digital sign and everything else? Because I think, pretty broad support from you all on the rest of the signs. And if possible, if we could cut to at least that place where, kind of like staff, we have this one thing over which we disagree, but most of you were pretty complimentary, I think, about the rest of it, that at least gets us to a point where we can sort of narrow the issues and focus on it. And again, remember that the JW Marriott sign is not up for voting. Thank you.
Yes, Bill Penniman.
Let me make a motion to approve everything but the digitized sign at the end of the metro walkway. Defer on that to a different motion or a different day, but approve the rest of the package, which personally I think is reasonable.
Thanks, Bill.
I'll second that if it needs it.
Was that Matt?
Yeah, I think it was
All right.
Matt and Jeremy.
Matt and Jeremy simultaneously. All right, we'll go with Matt.
That's how we work together.
Yeah, right. All right, Tammy has her hand up. But you're muted.
I don't think that's clear. Is it the digital sign on the Dulles Toll Road you're talking about?
Yes.
Is it?
That's my motion. That was my motion,
Yeah,
is
on the back
singling
of
out,
the
setting that aside and
pedestrian
approving the
doesn't
rest.
have anything to do with the tollway.
Yeah,
if
we're
that's
calling
what
it
you're-
the D1 signs. If you want to just write that into your, it's the D1 sign on the connector on the toll road. It has a very specific
Facing the
sign
toll
type.
road.
Thank you.
But we're
Thanks,
setting that
Kim.
aside to a separate motion or a separate day and
Okay,
approving the rest.
that's very helpful. Thank you.
All right.
But
Sorry, William, just to be clear, the digital sign adjacent to the parking garage, it would be part of this as well, right?
That would be approved by my motion.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, any further comments? Okay, all in favor? Please raise your hand. David and Sue, can you just confirm if that's a double vote?
2-4. 2 in favor.
2 in favor? Okay. Looks like we have 8-4. So the motion will pass. All against? Please raise your, lower your hands, everyone, and then anyone against this motion, please raise your hand. Okay, looks like we have 4 opposed. And then I plan to abstain. Anyone else abstain? Jeremy and William, you're opposed, I believe, right?
No, I'm sorry. I thought I had lowered my hand.
Okay. Okay,
I'm
so
I'm
was just
for,
lowering
not
mine.
opposed.
Okay. All right, motion passes. Any further motions or discussion? Or Jill, any comments from you? Oh,
No,
Bill,
I appreciate your willingness to sort of get us closer to the end. I took good notes on your comments. We'll take it back to Comstock, and we'll see what we can do. I think we will try to put together some representative images. Bill, to your question about sort of what some of these other signs might look like. And we'll put together some ancillary materials for your review.
okay, Bill, I saw you had your actual hand up. Did you have something you wanted to add?
No, they're coming back, and that was the only thing I just wanted to clarify is that it's deferred, they'll come back, and we appreciate that.
All right, Lynn?
Yeah, sorry, my question was, do you have an anticipated date that you might be coming back with the digital connector sign?
I don't know, Lynn, because we're coming into the holidays. Obviously the next 2.5 weeks are pretty, chaotic for
Right,
people.
right.
But I'll get back in touch with John in early January and see where we are.
Okay.
But I'll do what I can, but it's gonna be hard to get much, done in the
Well,
next.
January or February. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
Jill, would you like to table the digital sign or do we need to make a motion?
The motion that Bill made included a deferral of the decision on it, so I feel comfortable with what you did.
Okay, Tammy?
You're muted.
Please do mention to Chris Clemente the problem with the Haley and see if he has any, I would think from a business sense, he would understand that it will be confusing. So if you go in there with your shaking head, he's not going to understand it, but there we go. Thank you.
I can't talk to Chris about
No
that.
problem,
I'm sorry.
Jill.
I won't do
Gotcha.
it.
Gotcha.
I appreciate you, but I won't do it.
Okay, well, thank you for your time this evening, Jill and John.
All right, thanks everyone
and
very
everyone
much.
else.
I think
Thank you.
John's staying with y'all.
I'm
Thanks.
staying with y'all.
All right,
We're not.
Thanks.
See you later. Thanks.
thank you, bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, next up is Commerce Metro Center. Also Comstock, as we indicated, and I believe Brian Winterhalter from DLA Piper will be presenting. Good evening, Brian.
I am here, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I will be presenting. I have a very brief presentation. I will share my screen and just launch into it if that's okay.
Yes, please.
We have made some updates based on the last meeting with you all, and I just wanted to walk through this. This is honestly more of a check-in meeting with you to give you an update on our progress. We have had some additional meetings with staff and also with Supervisor Alcorn and Commissioner Carter. And there's some additional things that we're looking at that we're not ready to share with you yet. And we're still exploring some different options. So I'll come back to that in a few minutes. But I did want to give you all an update on some changes we made in the last discussion at the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting in September. So there was a lot of discussion about Road A and the width and the turn on southbound Wheelie going to westbound on Road A through our site. And we heard you loud and clear, and we've made changes to that, which I'll show you in a few slides. We've updated the plan for the grocery store layout. There's still a grocery store option in the plan. We just wanted to enhance that a bit, and so we'll show that to you as well. And then there were some questions about traffic light and the addition of crosswalks at the Centennial Park Drive intersection. That is part of the plan, and I will show you that also. So if you look on the image above here, if you can see my cursor, this is the condition that we had that we shared with you for Street A at the last P&Z meeting. This is the right turn coming off of southbound Wheelie into the site. And a number of folks had noted that with the right turn lane here outbound onto southbound Wheelie, and then the two turn lanes here, there was a concern about a level of sort of confusion of drivers, and are people pulling over here and stopping, and what does that do? And then the length of this crossing with a double lane going westbound coming off of Wheelie. And there was a concern about conflicts between vehicles and pedestrians and what that would mean and how that would function. And I think the suggestion was there was a concern that it would not function all that well in a TOD environment. So we took another hard look at that, and we've made the changes to our plans, which are incorporated in the plan set that we sent to everyone. But to highlight it here, if you look in the image below, and you can see my cursor, we've taken that condition away. So we've added a bump out with additional streetscape and tree planting here. So there are only one lane in and one lane out. So a total of 2 lanes across. That shortens this crossing distance. It makes it much clearer. There's only one way in, one way out. And then this is the turn lane that goes this way up to this access drive that loops around for the hotel and the office building. That looks like this with a bit more detail. So as you can see here, we've expanded the landscape amenity panel. We've moved the lay-by parking over to this location in front of the Yon office building. The hotel's up this way. This is the loop drop-off area here. And then in addition, we've also added an ADA parking space on the street on Road A, which is the main road going east-west through the project, as you all have seen before. But we just wanted to note that we added a surface ADA parking space as well. This, of course, isn't going to be the only ADA parking space. There will certainly be accessible parking within the garage, but we heard the request for an on-street ADA accessible parking space, and we've incorporated that into our plan. With respect to the grocery, here's the updated layout. We wanted to show this to you clearly. I don't think we had the same image in our previous presentation. So this is the area for the grocery at the corner. So this is Street A going this way, and this part is where the garage is under the road. Remember, the garage extends on both sides. And then here's the corner at Centennial Park Drive and Street A, very prominent in this location. And then to show you what that looks like, we have these views here. This is the corner of the building with the grocer option. And then to zoom in a bit on the actual end, we anticipate having some outside seating here as part of that sort of arrival experience into the grocer and to kind of enliven this corner of the site. Again, it's a prominent corner within the site, and we wanted to just emphasize that and show you the more specific plans for the grocery in this location. And then last quick update for everyone. We will have crosswalks at all 4 legs of the intersection here at Sunrise Valley Drive and Centennial Park Drive with a traffic signal. I know there were some questions about that. This is a pretty basic graphic, I understand, but just wanted to emphasize that there will be crosswalks at all 4 legs of this intersection with the traffic signal as well. In terms of where we are and next steps, as I mentioned, we had a series of meetings with Supervisor Alcorn and Commissioner Carter. We received a lot of good feedback and some creative suggestions. we are taking a hard look at those. And in fact, we're taking such a hard look that we weren't able to have materials ready for you. We need to do a little bit more exploration, frankly, on our side of what we think could be feasible. The goal is to potentially expand the amount of space, the dimension between the office buildings, the existing buildings 5 and 6, and then the new proposed office buildings that would be in the second phase of the project, the buildings that we've identified as 7 and 8. We're talking about whether we could expand the space between those buildings and enhance the pedestrian corridor through that area in a way that would connect in a nice way to what potentially could happen at the Association Drive project, and then also flow up to the Metro Plaza and have a nice continuous pedestrian connection and make that a sort of a central pedestrian spine through the project. That is still very much under exploration by our team. There's a lot of engineering work that needs to be done given the grades of the site and how that could fit with the floor plates of the building. So there's some good ideas out there, and we'll be back to you perhaps in January, maybe February, with some more specific drawings of what we could come up with that concept. But we are working on that and taking a hard look at it. We also will be doing additional community outreach. As I mentioned at the last meeting, we sent letters to all of the folks on Upper Lake Drive and also the folks on Great Meadow Drive. We reached out to the cluster association representatives for all of the clusters in the area. We'll do that again. We are planning to attend the Reston Association Land Use Committee meeting in January. So if you all are interested, you're welcome to come to that meeting as well. We will be there with our full team to make a presentation, answer any questions by the committee. And we will also, again, reach out to the cluster associations and invite everybody to come to that meeting as well. As a very quick update, you probably won't be surprised to hear we don't yet have a Planning Commission public hearing date, a Board of Supervisors public hearing date. That's still a little bit of ways off. So we're focused right now on seeing if we can incorporate some of the additional suggestions from Commissioner Carter, and we will be back to you with any future updates hopefully soon, and certainly we'll keep you updated. We wanted to, again, check in and give you the update on where we are with some of the important things that you noted at the last meeting. And that's where we are with our plan. We're happy to answer any questions. And I guess I'm sorry to say I don't have hopefully as contentious or voluminous of a plan and updates for you as the prior presentation, but we certainly wanted to keep you updated about what we're up to in our plan. So with that, I'm finished and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Brian, I guess just point of clarification. Are you looking for action from us tonight, or is this simply an update?
No, I am not. I wanted to update you all and let you know what we have done. We're not seeking a vote at this meeting. I hope perhaps that we would be in a position the next time we come to see you to ask for a vote, but we're not asking for a vote this evening.
Great. Thank you very much for that. All right. Bill.
Just one question, and that has to do with the grocery store. You
Sure.
had the layout. Is there any, what's the latest in terms of the expected square footage or floor plan?
Yeah, John, jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, but the last figure that I heard was approximately 14,500 square feet. So a good size, but a smaller format grocery option. There are a number of grocery options that fit the bill on that square footage. So I'm not going to give them away, but you might be able to guess.
Okay, no, that's fine. I think that was about the same size you gave before. I just was checking to see if that had changed. Thank you.
Yep, sure, of course.
Thank you. Tammy.
Thank you. Brian, I have a ton of questions, but in that you're still fleshing this out, they may or may not be appropriate, but maybe let's go over a couple of them so that you're aware of some concerns that the committee may have on this project. This is a huge project. This is the largest, most important project, in my opinion, left in Reston along the Dulles Tollway. So getting it right is imperative. And that is the only reason I'm bugging you with this tonight. I am super concerned about a couple of things that violate the Reston master plan. One is that the density of this parcel is supposed to be 50 residential, 50 non-residential. It's nowhere close to that. You have in excess, you have a million square feet given to two very tall, smashed in prime, I'd say, you know, grade A office buildings right along the tollway that look like they don't have sufficient footprint space to even allow them to have access to 1 million square feet of office space with real streets. They're served by alleys or private streets. Now, I understand the conundrum that with the massive underground garage, VDOT is not going to take for a public street, a street that runs over, that is on top of a garage. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Is VDOT's limitation that the garage is directly under the roadway, or if it's solid down a layer or two, would they accept it? In other words, if you didn't have the garage contiguous in that immediate underground level, would they take it? Do you know?
So as far as we've ever been told by VDOT, they will not accept for public street purposes the maintenance of a road with a garage below it, regardless of how far below the garage is.
Thank you. That's helpful.
And Tammy, let me just
Yes.
add, because we've also asked this question, what if you just connected it with like a tunnel? They won't take that either.
What do you mean connected it with a tunnel?
So in other words, if you had two garages that were next to each other like this,
Oh, I see what
and
you're
you,
saying.
and you just ran a tunnel between the two,
That
they
wouldn't work
wouldn't,
either.
that wouldn't work either.
Thanks, John. That's helpful to know. So my concern with this, forget the alley thing, that for a marketing purpose, if Booz Allen is having a stroke, that they can't have a digital sign on the Dulles Toll Road, or they won't lease from Comstock. That's crazy. But the idea that anybody who's a prime tenant would want to be have their building access with an alley, that just seems gross and disgusting. So, that's a concern. The other thing with private streets, whether they're alleys or streets, those can be, what do they connect to? Do they connect to private roads? I believe so. Or do they connect to public streets? If they connect to other private roads can be shut down for festivals or any number of issues because they are private. So that to me is a viable marketing issue for prime commercial tenants. So that's one concern.
Well, so if I may jump in on that
Sure,
one
please
concern.
do.
So private streets can connect to the public road network. So that, that's okay, right? So Wheelie's obviously public, Sunrise Valley is public, and we will have a network of private streets that will connect to those public streets. With respect to the function of the street network within our site and connections to the west ultimately, to the Association Drive area, we will have public access easements over our private roads, so they will be fully publicly accessible from that perspective. And then in terms of, I will have to say, for what it's worth, I think you all know our office is in Reston Town Center, and I'd like to think that we're a nice Class A office tenant at DLA Piper, but you all can debate that. But there are street closures in Market Street and Reston Town Center for various festivals, as everybody knows, and there are a number of very high quality office tenants in that location. And just in general, I would say the activity of Reston Town Center, the activity of what happens at Reston Station and the plaza on the north side of the toll road here, and what we hope to have a nice level of activity in this site as well, I think are a draw for office tenants. Like I said, I work in Reston Town Center. It's a nice amenity for us, but I guess, to each his own in terms of whether that's an amenity, but I think there are a lot of office tenants who are interested in that type of amenitized sort of active environment.
My point there was going west, Brian, is we don't know what development's going to happen around Association Drive between the Comstock controlled property and the properties west. So those may
Yeah.
or
Yeah, understood. So for what it's worth, and I don't have that exhibit handy, but we will be back to you all. I personally will be back to you all on Association Drive as part of moving that comprehensive plan amendment forward. I know there's a lot of discussion to be had on that. I know there are a lot of thoughts and interests on the part of the community, neighbors, the Planning and Zoning Committee, in terms of what you all would like to see. For what it's worth, we last Friday submitted an updated exhibit that has the support of the owners of all 10 of the office parcels at Association Drive. And the very short version is, instead of having the main sort of spine road, if you want to call it that, running east-west through the central stand of trees, we have a revised design that would preserve that stand of trees, have that be a more natural open space area. There are still additional urban park spaces, but we've tried to push the east-west connections to have one push to the north and one push to the south to go around that central tree area, have two connections into Soapstone, and then be able to connect where Association Drive is here on the screen. You can see this is the east side of Association Drive here, and have a connection here, but also potentially at some point in the future. And I get it, this is not anytime in like the near future, but in the potentially longer term future, having some connection that comes off this way and winds its way through here to connect to this location. Is that feasible today? No, frankly, it's not, in part because Comstock doesn't control this parking lot. We don't control this right here. This is the office condo. This is the IGS property. I think I mentioned before that Comstock had tried to acquire this property and has not been successful. But someday, if this parcel, these surface parking lots in this building were ever to be redeveloped, there is a way to make this happen. That could be feasible. And so what we're trying to set up longer term is a near-term approach for Association Drive that is responding to the objectives that we've heard from folks, while also creating the type of environment here in the first phase in particular of this project in this portion of the site that sets that up here as well. And then at some point, the idea, of course, is that this would connect. How exactly, what's the alignment, where it's going to connect, I don't yet know. I wish I did. I wish we had these properties under control, and I wish we could plan all that out right now, because obviously that would make a ton of sense. But that's just not the reality that we have. So we're trying to do the best we can and set the framework so that it could be implemented in the future.
Thank you. I appreciate that complexity. The whole thing is super complex. The concern also is that where the north of the tollway Comstock property does not directly abut residential, this south CMC does. And right across Sunrise Valley Drive are homes, both townhouses and single family. And when and if the Centennial Drive stoplight goes in, whoa, if I were in the neighborhood south um, of the residential Comstock Boulevard residential, Commerce 1, Commerce 11, I guess, I would be terrified that the people who work in the million plus, and it's way more than a million because Commerce 8 and 7 are a million there, and then we have Commerce 10. If they're not getting on the metro or going across the bridge and taking the bus lane connections on the north side, they're going to be coming out onto Sunrise Valley, and they can only right turn out onto Wheelie and go left or right on Sunrise Valley. I would be terrified that they would take this new light and go straight through this very quiet residential neighborhood onto Upper Lakes Drive and then access Sunrise Valley further east. So there are two ways they could do that. So that's a huge concern. The other is the massing itself of the boulevard residential adjacent to these very low-rise residential issues. So we have the 50-50 goal that's not met, and then we have this problem with getting people out of this site before we have control of the Association Drive. So you can see I've spent a lot of time looking at this plan going, oh my God, we got to fix or at least think about some of these issues before we get too far down the road here.
Yeah, so let me address the mix of uses. So obviously we're proposing more office than the 50-50 transit station mixed use recommendation in the comprehensive plan. Our plan overall is about 20% residential, 10% is about 10% is the hotel and the retail, and the office is about 70%. The proposal for the land areas at Association Drive, and I know that's separate, but we've talked to county staff about their viewing this overall quadrant in a more holistic way. That proposal for those parcels is, as you already know, to be able to develop an entirely residential assemblage there with a mix of multifamily townhouses, stacked townhouses, and some combination to be determined, but essentially entirely residential. When you take what's recommended in the comprehensive plan over the entire area, and you take what's proposed over the entire area, they're not like dead on the nose, but they're, pretty darn close for a 30, 40, 50-year comprehensive planning exercise. It's within a couple 100,000 square feet out of millions of square feet. So it's a pretty balanced mix of uses across the board. We think it makes sense to cluster more office at the metro station. The owners at Association Drive and the applicants for the comprehensive plan amendment think it's appropriate and makes sense to have more residential in that location. That's not dissimilar from what's already in the comprehensive plan. The county already assumes more office should be at the metro station and more residential should be a bit farther away. This is just accentuating that further in both directions. But overall, it's a pretty close balance in the mix of uses if you look at that whole area.
Brian, could you repeat what parcels you're anticipating to be townhouses and multifamily?
The Association
ones
Drive
west?
parcels. Yeah.
The what?
The Association Drive parcels.
Okay, so you're anticipating, with the exception of the one that's already historically protected, you're expecting Association Drive to be mainly residential versus commercial?
I'm not just suggesting, I am just noting that is the substance of the SSPA nomination for Association Drive that has been processing with the county. So
okay, and who controls that? Isn't it like 30 different owners or 8 different owners or something?
There are 10 different parcels. One owner owns 3 of the parcels.
Okay, so Comstock does not have control over that. and
No,
no crystal
that's
ball,
correct.
but you think that's going to happen. Is that accurate?
It's not,
Summation
well, I
of what
guess
you're saying?
what I'm saying is it's a proposal on the table.
Okay.
And it's been on the table for quite a while. And the most significant feedback we heard was about the grid of streets and the preservation of the mature trees at the center of that assemblage, which our
Right.
revised concept plan does. I don't have the revised concept plan for you today. That's a different meeting, a different discussion.
No, I
I
understand.
know we'll be back. I know there's a lot of interest in it. It's in the very early. We just submitted it on Friday. And I
Okay.
will tell you, in all candor, it took a lot to get all those owners to coordinate on that plan. And we're finally, I'm frankly kind of excited that we finally got there and that we have a revised concept that we can work with you all in the county on. But it's early stages for that. But it is 100% residential.
Thank you. And I so appreciate your information and your candor on that. And it's time for somebody else to ask their questions. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thanks, Tammy.
Thank you, Tammy. Bill Penniman.
Forgot to take my hand down from my question a while back.
Okay, that's cool. Katie.
Yep, thank you. Just a couple things. So, remind me, where is Metro parking going to be for the south side access? Is there going to be Metro parking?
There is no dedicated Metro parking on the south side.
And is that not going to change either?
No, I don't think it is going to change.
Okay.
And honestly, the large parking garage on the north side was really to serve in the interim condition while Wheelie was the end of the line station. Obviously, the parking is still there and isn't going anywhere.
Oh, no,
but that's the reason it's there, right?
Totally.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
I just was
Yep.
curious.
Yeah.
So while construction is happening, will that impede people that are walking from the south side to get to the Metro?
We'll maintain access throughout construction.
There will always be
Yeah.
access for somebody walking, because I
Yes.
don't live too far from here, so I do actually walk to the Metro on the south side. So I was just wondering, like, is that okay, so that's good. And then I also just wanted to thank you so much for getting rid of those 2 lanes coming in off of Wheelie.
Yeah, we took that to heart and we realized we were honestly kind of scratching our heads like, yeah, that was a really insightful and helpful comment because we're trying to figure out why we did that.
And I forget who said it. I think there are multiple people, but I just wanted to thank you because I think when it comes to like safety with people crossing and people turning in, that was so confusing. And that's it for my comments. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you. Lynn.
Yep. Hey, Brian, thank you so much for this presentation. Good to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you. Thanks.
I just wanted to echo Tammy's concern with the massing of this building of Commerce 11 for residential, since it is abutting lower scale residential. And I don't know if there's some way that you can, decrease the height of that building at the Sunrise Valley and then maybe scale it back up in the back and have it progress that way in order to maintain your density there. But right now, looking at that, it is the massing on that front end there is egregious. I do want to talk about the stormwater management.
Sure.
As you all know, the water flows from south to north, and the stormwater management program that you all have for this development is extremely important in order to remedy the issue of the water that is moving from south to north. And as you know, we've experienced flooding in the VDOT parking lot, and anything that you all can do. I think that there is there is a county's goal to provide greater than 1.0 FAR, that the stormwater, if you can go back and look at the, I think it was the 100-year flood and meet those requirements, that would be great. The other thing that I was looking at was open space. I think that there may be a miscalculation in the open space. So if you could go back and look at that, I would really appreciate it.
Sure, of course. Do you have any further specificity on what may be
So
miscounted?
yeah, I think in your drawings that you're showing that 12 feet from the curb, that you're including that in your calculation, and that does not count.
Okay, we'll take a look at that with our team.
Yeah, the loading dock. Yeah, and then also, you know, speaking about Commerce 11, I was just wondering where the open space was for that residential property.
Well, there are two different aspects of that. There are open space areas that are for that are open to everyone, that will have public access easements at the property, that will include the urban park spaces. So those would be available for the residents of the building, of course, as well as members of the general public. And then within the courtyard areas that are, at least for this image, unhelpfully blocked by the
can't see
label.
it.
They're in there, I swear. So
Okay.
there are various amenity spaces and courtyards and amenities in there. And then there's some park space here and some outside seating along Wheelie as well. So we've got some additional images we've been working on. We'll show you what this looks like. But this
really like to
setback along Wheelie is
yeah,
nice.
the
So
open space, open space and stormwater management are the two areas that I'm really looking at here. So
okay. Sure.
just so you
Yeah,
know.
appreciate that. Well, and by the way, just for what it's worth, you know, as I mentioned earlier, one of the things based on Commissioner Carter's comments is we're looking at what we can do in this area here, and whether we can get some more space between these buildings, what to do with the footprints of these buildings, and if that is viable, and in what way it could be viable, and then having a nice, you know, pedestrian corridor here up to the plaza and ultimately to the metro station. Some of that, and also some of Commissioner Carter's comments about not favoring the bioretentions along the streetscape areas in certain locations. Those will have some impact on the stormwater management calculations. So some of that might be to the good, and some of it might be not so good in terms of removing bioretentions. So one of the reasons I don't have more detailed stormwater other than what was currently in the plan set that we just submitted to the county that you all have is some of this additional sort of site design tinkering that we're working on right now may end up moving the stormwater management numbers in different directions. So we gotta figure out if some of these moves are feasible, and if they are, then what it does to those, and then where that puts us, and then we can have a conversation about where we are at that point. But some of those numbers may end up changing a bit.
For the better, I hope.
I hope so too, but we'll have to see. It's you know what, I wish I had the design skills of the engineers, but frankly, obviously I don't. But it's challenging. We're pushing and pulling at everything on this site, and we're trying to achieve a lot of the county's objectives, both with providing additional housing, obviously, providing office space at the metro station, making it, you know, a lively environment with nice urban park spaces. It's come a long way, and I think we've made a lot of really nice changes over the course of this application, and in part based on your all's feedback from the staff, and a lot of discussions with them. You know, I don't think we're 100% there yet, or we'd be asking for a vote. But I think we're on our way to having a good, hopefully updated package for you all the next time we meet.
Okay, and you did open the door there for one last question, and that pertains to your affordable housing.
Yes.
I see that you're focusing on workforce housing and meeting those requirements. But in terms of affordable housing, and that is the 60% AMI and below, are you providing for any of that?
So there will be, because under the county's workforce dwelling unit policies, there are now recommendations per county policy, which we're going to be following with this plan. For rental units, the building is anticipated to be a rental multifamily building, and those units as WDUs would be at 60, 70, and 80% of AMI.
Okay, but
That's
nothing
now
below 60%.
nothing below 60%. That's correct.
Okay, and will those be 30-year
You mean in terms of a
properties?
30-year commitment?
Right.
I believe it's now 50 years, but I don't want to tell you that affirmatively
Okay.
and be incorrect. So I can check that for you, but I believe the county changed the 30 years to 50 years.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Lynn. Tammy, did you re-raise your hand?
No, yes, I did. Thank you. I have to ask you, given the having a garage directly under private streets and the fact that you have the need for canopy, or we have the need for canopy for sustainability, are trees viable in the very limited, and John is nodding his head. You believe they are viable, John Harrison? You're
Well,
muted.
I'll jump in while John is
Yes,
unmuting
Tammy.
himself and say, not only
Yeah.
are they viable, but they exist in numerous places across the county already.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, that is a standard practice. Now, obviously, you have to get it right, which we will, but that is a standard practice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how?
And Tammy, let me just tell you that like, just because you've got a street on top of a garage, they're not like sitting right on top of each other. There's actually a pretty significant size space in between them. And then in particular, we make provisions in the facility so that we can accommodate the soil requirements to make sure that the trees thrive. And like here at Reston Station, I mean, if you've been here recently, the trees that are on top of the plaza are all essentially sitting on top of a parking deck, and they're huge.
Super. Thank you so much. The other thing is something I would have expected Bill Penniman to come after, and that is the statement I was real shocked to see at the end of 2025. You're still sticking to 2% EV charging ready in your garages, with 5% with the tubes that wires can be drawn from. Do you not think that is really low for the idea that the whole country is trying to go toward electronic vehicles? It's a little disappointed in that. I don't want to get us down the road where people want to have EVs and there's no place to charge them while people are at work.
Well, all I can say to that, at least tonight, is if that's the final issue that we're down to, I'll be happy as Comstock's representative and we'll figure it out.
Okay. All righty. Thank you. Thank you. I obviously have pages and pages of stuff, but since you're coming back, I will wait. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it, Tammy, and also let me, if I may, let me take that opportunity to say, if you or if anybody else on the committee have questions or comments or anything else that you'd like to share with us, I'm all ears. So let me know. We'd be happy to provide any additional information. You can email me directly. I'm happy to chat. And we can talk through comments, questions you have, and see if there's anything we can do to help.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Probably will be getting in touch with you.
Great.
And let me just say, one of the issues will be green buildings. And yeah, I see green roofs, but I didn't see squat about details. And then we have a lead change. Lead is changing apparently their parts of their paradigm, what do you want to call it, requirements, but lead silver is nothing. And I would think for these very, very expensive office buildings, you would want to pledge gold or platinum, and that would go a long way for our sustainability and what we expect in Reston. So you can put that on your list of things to discuss. Appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Tammy.
Thank you, Tammy. Michelle.
Hi, thank you. You didn't answer Tammy's question about the concern that Great Meadows and Upper Lake Drive will turn into a cut-through street. I think this is a really significant and serious issue, and so I'd like to hear your response.
So a couple things. One is there are multiple access points to the site beyond just the Centennial Park Drive intersection. So some of that will involve the vehicles, particularly in the peak hour, AM and PM peak hour, will be utilizing multiple different access points to come in and out of the site. So it's not all going to be through that one intersection. The other thing is we have offered to meet with those folks. We're happy to meet again and hear those concerns. And if there's anything that we can do, are there more specific concerns that people have? So again, we're open and interested in meeting with folks.
Yeah, so that doesn't quite answer it though. So this I don't think you have to. I mean, I live on Upper Lake Drive. I'm deeply concerned that this is going to turn into a cut-through street. I can't see how people are not going to realize very quickly they could exit, go through our streets, and then pop out and be closer to Vienna, McLean, Oakton, wherever they're trying to go. So I don't think that that's being, unrealistic to say you need to have a solution before it becomes a problem. And I don't think I heard a solution there.
Well, I'm happy to talk with you and the folks who live in the neighborhood about what a solution might be, what you might be interested in.
Yeah. But you also have a lot of experience doing this. So I think you could also propose some solutions and really, look at this. But that does bring up one important point. Brian, and with previous clients you've represented, you held community meetings. That hasn't occurred here. I hear you keep saying that you're offering to meet with small groups or meet with people, but there's a big difference between doing a small group meeting and actually meeting with the entire community and setting up a community meeting. We haven't had that with this, and this is substantial and quite frankly immense and moving. So when can we expect a community meeting, Brian?
Well, I will say we'll talk about if and when we can have a community meeting. I think you all already know we mailed letters to every individual house on Upper Lake Drive in Great Meadow, and we didn't get any response.
Mhm. But again, I think sometimes it is about setting a meeting and saying we want to present to the community and not just here's what we're doing. Let me know individually what you think. Those are two different things, two very different things. We certainly don't have very many members of the community here. This deserves something more. And you were able to do it before. So
Well, I guess, yeah. And as I recall, there was a lot of consternation about those meetings, and there were many folks who felt that those meetings were not effective. I think all around, frankly. So I guess I'm a bit at a loss because we sent letters to folks. We invited them to the last P&Z meeting. We will send letters again and invite people to the RA Land Use Committee meeting. We could invite them to the next P&Z meeting, but people had, as far as I know, people are not as interested as I would have thought. Frankly, I was surprised.
Mhm. I don't think that I think that they don't realize the extent of what you're proposing. I really don't. And I don't know, there could be many reasons that's the case, but I don't think they really comprehend what this really means.
Yeah, well, I guess I have no, I don't know I don't have any way to, I guess, respond to that other than we included links to all the materials in those letters, so people had access to all of the materials. So if there's anybody who wants to
Yeah.
talk about them, like I said, I'm always happy to discuss or happy to
Yeah.
meet with folks.
Yeah, I just I'm sorry, you know, whether or not the meetings were um enjoyable for you is another story, but I think the simple fact of having a community
Well,
meeting is important for something that is this large. So that's my request as somebody who received the letter.
okay,
You
thank you.
do you have, so you were sitting here and heard the very long conversation about signs. What type of signs can we expect here? Will we see something as large as the JW Marriott sign?
I will tell you, I have no idea. We haven't talked about signs. We're way far away from that. If John Harrison has an idea of what signs he might ultimately want, or Chris might ultimately want for this project, he can fill you in. But we have not talked a word about signage as part of this project yet.
Yeah. Candidly, we're trying to figure out if we have a project.
Okay. Um, let's see. You know, last time you spoke with us, I think you also mentioned something about off-site affordable housing. Is that no longer the case?
Yeah,
Am I getting, yeah.
that was not well received, and that is no longer part of the plan.
Okay, okay. Um, and then, I think you had mentioned that Supervisor Alcorn and Commissioner Carter had specific feedback for you. Can you just give us the overview of that feedback in a bit more detail?
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing I think I've already alluded to it, which is the biggest thing that we're focused on is, can we figure out a way to get some separation between these buildings and have a more prominent pedestrian thoroughfare through here? What does that mean for the toll road trail that's along the toll road, which is in the county comp plan? What does that mean for the road back here and the condition of the building and the relationship between the buildings and the road and how all that works? So that's what we're trying to figure out, what's feasible and what we can do. That's not the full extent of the commentary, but that's the biggest design change that we're looking at right now and whether we can do it.
Mm-hmm. Um, so just as a comment, I think the FAR that you're asking for is obscenely high. I don't think you've put forward a plan that warrants that. Especially because you're just trying to pack so much in, and it is so very different than on the north side. Your proximity to lower density housing is it's just you're right there, right on top of people, and I don't think you've thought through the significant and major impacts that this will have, not only on the immediate community, but really on a good deal of South Reston. I would certainly like to see more. And again, I'm going to reiterate the request to have an actual community meeting where members of the community are allowed to speak and not only those who sit on a committee. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Michelle. Tammy.
Thank you. One last thing, Brian, before our next meeting, can you please, we've requested this for other projects, but can you furnish to us the staff comments on this so that we are informed as to what you have worked out with staff already and what their continuing objections may be or concerns? We would really appreciate that. Thank
Sure.
you.
Yeah, we can do that.
Looks like Bill, you raise your hand again.
Right. Just a question, Brian. As one who lives on Upper Lake Drive, when did you mail that? Were
It
they
was
to resident or were they to individual known people?
They were to what was listed in the county tax assessment records as the owner of each of the houses.
Okay.
And that
What,
was
do you recall
before, yeah, it was in advance of the last P and Z meeting.
Okay. Maybe I just counted on being at the P and Z committee because I don't remember it. Just one other One other thing, well, two other things. One, I share the concern that's been raised about cut-through traffic. And so I would like to have a discussion. And if there's something you can do, or whether it comes down to or putting, speed humps in, or getting a no entry, no through traffic at certain hours of the day, it's just, I would welcome your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and those are, I appreciate that. Those are things that I think we could talk about, of whether they would, one, whether they would make sense and be effective, and whether they would be something that would be supported by a good number of folks in the neighborhood. I know that,
Sure.
Speed humps can sometimes be controversial. Some folks like them, some folks
Understood.
don't. So, I think it would be helpful to have a dialogue about what opportunities would be, and what things might be supported or not supported. Because I don't want to, Michelle's point is well taken, of like, we need to suggest something, but I don't want to necessarily suggest something everybody's going to get upset about.
Well,
to be
I
blunt.
guess the other way to ask it is, are there things you can do that you can let us know about, and ideas you've seen
Yeah.
in other places? And we don't need
Sure.
to discuss it tonight.
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
The one other thing is those two buildings that, I guess the question was raised, can you move them farther apart? I guess my thought is, why can't you move them closer together so that you open up more space on the outside of them at the ends? That's
Yeah, so just maybe to clarify, the moving them farther apart is moving new building 7 farther from building 5, existing building
over
5,
there.
moving new building 8 farther from existing building 6
Okay.
to open
Okay.
this up in here.
I see the issue. Okay.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
Again, there's no commitments. We're trying to figure out if that's feasible and in what way
Understood.
we could do it.
Okay. Thank you.
Michelle, looks like you raised your hand again.
Yeah, I just did want to clarify. So you don't have any mention of signs in your proffers?
Only that we can do signage that's permitted on a by right basis, which is typical in all proffers. And otherwise, we would need to seek approval of the county for anything that's not permitted under the zoning ordinance on a by right basis. So all of the things that you're discussing on the north side, that all requires an approval by the county, as you obviously heard already.
But the JW Marriott sign does not? Or
No,
did
I
not?
know.
it was
It
approved.
did. It was approved
Mhm.
on a different sign plan.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So like, I think if you're asking, could we like put up a JW Marriott-esque sign without anyone's approval, I'm pretty sure the answer to that is no.
Mm-hmm. I think you should consider that proffer and addressing the concerns of so many in Reston that we don't see additional signs like the one on the north side, on the south side.
Okay, Commissioner Carter, is there anything you'd like to add?
Let's see. I'm thinking of things that haven't been mentioned. The tunnel under Wheelie. So I know that you're working on that.
Oh, we are working on that. Thank you for that
Yeah.
reminder. We
Yeah.
are actually looking at where we could have a tunnel that could come out on our side, and whether it would need to go through the garage, or whether there's enough land area where it could actually daylight, which might end up being preferred in the area kind of up here.
And then we talked about a 3D or isometric of the metro station itself, since it's in multi-levels, something that would make it easier to understand how people can walk there, drive there, how emergency vehicles could get close, how the loading, it's pretty complex there. I'm not sure I've got it all in my head yet. Let's see. As my basic beef is better numbers in the development plan itself that spell out all the aspects, and at least in this mixed, include the Lincoln building and the 2 office buildings there first to see where we are. I guess I could do that myself, but better for you. It might look better. I'm not sure. In terms of the community outreach, maybe there is something that you could actually have the community work on, like the open space. Maybe the topic as part of a community outreach would be the open space and what you would actually do in it, or maybe some ideas that the community might have to put into the open space. Phasing, I think we need a phasing drawing. I assume that the hotel and the housing and the tall office building on Wheeling would be first. And then what happens if the rest of it comes later? So a phasing drawing might be useful.
We do have phasing drawings in the plan,
You do? Okay.
in the updated plan. So we're happy to talk about those. High level, as you already anticipated, the garage on the eastern portion of the project needs to be constructed all at one time. So the CMC3 building, which sits about here, would be demolished. The CMC4 building is staying. The garage essentially wraps around it like a U, and that garage would be built all at one time. It will have a platform, essentially, and all this will be more or less at the
Yes.
same grade. And then these buildings would go vertical on top of that garage in a sequence. And then this portion would be essentially a later phase. This would all be first.
So it's basically the numbers, the design of the streets, the design of the open space, the tunnel, and then I'm disappointed you don't have a very large digital sign, but maybe we'll save that for another day.
We can make that happen for you, John.
Since we did such a good job on the other.
Kidding, Len.
Okay.
Okay.
I have more detailed comments, but we'll save those.
Okay. Well, yeah, and we're like I said, we are working on some of the suggestions that you had. I know you need to see from us the updated tabulations. We'll certainly have that. We can talk about phasing. We can run you through those sheets. But I think really right now we're focused on whether and to what extent we can make this move feasible. We're trying hard, but we don't have all the answers yet, quite honestly.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Carter. All right. Some people have hands up again. Tammy.
Thank you. Brian, on page 6 of this is a minor thing. I believe it's a typo, but there on the justification part of your presentation at the bottom of the page, Sunrise Valley Drive Linear Park, the applicant will provide, and then there's no width mentioned. That's been left out inadvertently, I hope. So we need to know how wide that linear park is.
Yeah, I know,
So if you
that's
could put
important.
that on your notepad to give us next time, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yep. Thank you, Tammy.
Okay, Bill.
Just one idea. As you're thinking about your 2 office buildings off to the west, if you could actually start thinking now in a design, come up with a design that would be convertible to residential in whole or in part, if the office market goes south on you after it's built, just sort of have the infrastructure in place to make conversion economically possible. Would be a nice thing to do if it's possible. That's a suggestion. You don't have to comment, but think about it.
Yeah. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, sir. Anything else? All right, a lot of good comments and dialogue. Brian, John, anything else you want to add?
No, just thank you everybody
Thank
for
you for your
the
time.
feedback, and appreciate all the comments and the dialogue, and we'll keep everybody updated, and we will continue our outreach to the community. And we will be at the RA Land Use Committee meeting on the 13th. We'll get back to a time when we can or determine a time, I should say, when we can come back to P&Z, and we'll keep everybody updated.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks,
Thank you
everybody.
all.
Happy holidays.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays to you as well.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, so we'll transition to P&Z operations. We had a number of things that we've been talking about for a while. And we just wanted to sort of get everyone on board and decide a course of action for a variety of topics. So, Bill, I think your hand is still up, but I don't know that you mean it to be, do you? Okay. All right. In order of importance, we had a team of folks that put together the statement that I read at the beginning of the meeting. Excuse me. And I've read it a couple times now and made some very minor modifications. It feels like a good statement to me, but wanted to see if there's any other feedback from anyone or further dialogue, and hopefully looking for a sort of approval from the committee to sort of use that moving forward. We can always modify if we need to.
I thought we already made a motion to accept that, but I'll make the motion again if need be to accept the introductory language for participant civil interaction.
I
Yeah,
second that motion. This is Tammy.
That's great. Any other comments? And thank you for your help, Mark and crew, to help us sort of manage some of that. We haven't had an issue since, but it's really the golf course issues that caused some challenges. All right, all in favor, raise your hands. Okay, it looks like that passes probably unanimously. Okay, thank you very much. All right, next topic is the proposed meeting start time. We'd had a debate about starting earlier so we don't end these meetings sometimes very late. I know some folks get up early and have work and other things, and also know that some people get home from work at certain times and they may have a hard time meeting at certain times. So we proposed possibly meeting at 6:30 or 7. We could certainly keep it at 7:30 as well. I know I would vote for a little bit earlier as I go to work pretty early in the mornings. But I'm sure there's a variety of opinions. Tammy?
I would like to keep it at 7:30, but if the majority feel that earlier is better, 7 at the earliest, please, due to people needing to get home and have a chance to eat something before they attack this kind of detailed, intense meeting material. Thank you.
Okay.
I just want to, sorry, John. I would be one of the people affected by that, so I agree with Tammy. 7's about as early as I can do.
Okay, Jeremy? You're muted if you're talking.
Yeah, sorry, my hand was still raised from before. I thought these things were on timers and they turned themselves off.
Oh, I see. Okay. So you don't have a comment. No, I
Nope.
think you have to lower it. Okay, so
I would
personally, I would
vote
love
for
to.
7. This is
7?
Lynn, sorry. 7 would be a great compromise, I think.
Yeah, I'll make a motion for a 7 o'clock start time.
I'll second it, or I'll make the motion and somebody else can second it.
Sure. Okay. All in favor of moving it to 7, raise your hand. Let's see, Bill, your hand's physically raised, but not in. Dave and Sue, are you both raising your hands?
That's 2, 4, 7 o'clock.
Yeah. Okay, looks like we have a pretty unanimous approval there. So it looks like we'll move the meeting time to 7 to start a little bit earlier. And if that doesn't work in the future, we can always adjust.
Does that work for Mark?
Oh, Yeah, let's check with Mark.
Does that work for
Mark's-
Mark?
Mark Critical.
Yeah, and I think as I think I've mentioned before, you know, I can adjust my schedule. It's really more about how it affects the volunteers. Same with the applicants, presenters, you know, that they're doing this like I am for work. So it's really more about what the volunteers want to do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate all of your help, Mark. You've been a great help throughout the years. We appreciate it. All right, so I'm gonna switch two of the topics here. I'm gonna start with the approval of the 2026 members and a future membership plan. We only have a few people up for renewal this year. I think David and Sue were both up for renewal, and they were interested in continuing. And then I believe the two associates. I know Andy. I think some of you already have heard this, but Andy had asked to resign. But Jeremy Mack and Chris Dabity are up for 1-year renewals. Am I correct about that? No, I'm sorry, that's wrong.
Amy.
That's wrong, not Jeremy. Chris Dabity and
Amy Andrews.
Amy Andrews. Yes, thank you. So, I guess can I get a motion or discussion? Looks like Katie has her hand up.
I'm hitting the wrong buttons. I just had a question, and maybe I'm jumping ahead. Can you let us know the calendar for our meetings? Because it looks like one of them is on MLK Day and one is on President's Day, I think. And I wasn't sure if we were going to change those or not. But we don't need to do that tonight. But maybe Mark or somebody could just send us out like a calendar of dates just so I can put them on my calendar. That's all.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we usually adjust those as we.
I think we normally do. So that's why I was just like putting it out there if we know when we're changing them to.
Yes, I don't think we do yet. One of the things I wanted to propose and discuss today about membership is this year we only have 2 people. In the coming years, we have higher volumes of people that could be up for renewals. Some folks may want to, rotate off. Not sure about that, but I found that when we do it late in the year, it makes it really hard to like get the word out and then do interviews and all that kind of thing. So what I was thinking is take an action plan for maybe this summer to figure out who, if anybody, wants to leave, and then see who's up for renewals, and then we definitely could replace the one associate member if no one else wants to leave, and we could sort of have a process there. But it gives us a little more time to deal with that, so we're not rushed at the end of the year. So I sort of wanted to sort of talk about that plan for next summer and doing that, make sure everyone's in concurrence with that, or most people are. And then also to officially vote on David, Sue, and Amy, and Chris. Did I get that right?
Yes.
And Lynn.
Thank you. Yeah, so my question is, before we vote on David, Sue, Amy, and Chris, do we know that they want to continue to serve?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
As Chris
certainly don't want to force them into subservience.
I don't know if we can. I don't know if Chris is on. I had reached out a while ago. Amy, I believe I had reached out, hadn't I? Yeah, and I believe I heard yes from everyone, except Andy. Andy had asked to not continue. Yeah, but it felt rushed to try to fill Andy's spot and unnecessary, and so that's why we sort of said let's just pause and then get that started again next summer when we have more time, or sometime next year. It doesn't have to be summer. Bill.
I'd like to make a motion that we renew the terms of the 4 people you have identified by name.
I'll second.
That's great. And just for a point of clarification, Amy and Chris would be for 1-year stints. and David and Sue would be for 3 more years as full members.
Exactly
All
what
right.
I intend.
I second.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Raise your hands, please. All those in favor? Looks like everyone. Okay. Motion approved. All right. Someone brought up an idea for work sessions with a work session with DRB. And I don't believe we've chatted with them in quite some time. I know I used to be on the DRB, and we did have some communication back a long time ago. Any thoughts on sort of engaging with them more
I think that
directly,
would be a
or
great idea. I think it was Sue that brought that up, by the way.
right? Yeah, okay. Seemed like a good idea.
Yep.
I would like to do that too. And also, if anybody who's a practicing architect understands the changes in lead, so we have some clue as to what we're approving for sustainability when projects such as we had tonight, CMC, come forward. That's such a huge thing. It's so important for sustainability. And I appreciate the members of the committee that brought that up. So I would love it. And both of those, and a discussion of lead and a powwow with the Reston DRB.
Tammy, I can only speak for myself. I think Jared and Jeremy would probably agree, but I think all 3 of us would be happy to do that sort of internally to talk more about some of the building technologies. I think just a general point that I'd like to make to everybody on this committee is a lot of the projects that we're reviewing are very early on in the design process. A lot of the projects haven't even selected an architect yet. They might have an architect that's kind of working on the master plan, and they can put together a, quick massing. And I think it's easy sometimes because the renderings that they show us are so glossy and sophisticated to, weigh in on things like a green roof or green technologies. And I just know, because I do it every day, that those decisions about the systems in the building, I mean, they're not even bringing mechanical and electrical plumbing engineers into the project until there's, number one, all the entitlements are done. They've got their financing, they've got a contract, and then the engineers are coming on board. So some of these questions sometimes I feel like are really putting the cart before the horse when we get into these very technical questions about building systems and things like that very early on in the process.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, good, really good point. Bill?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine to meet with the DRB. I'm an RA member, and certainly, I'm glad there is a DRB, but let's not forget, much of Reston is not in the Reston Association. They're not subject to the rulings of the DRB, and our job is not outsourceable to DRB. But, I'm always interested in input.
Yeah, totally agree with that, Bill. And it's like any committee, it's the value is the members that are currently on it, and so yes, and they only have a smaller purview as well, as you said. Well, is there anyone that has a strong relationship with the current DRB that would like to sort of take an action item to connect with them? If not, happy to help. Okay. All right. Last thing I had on the agenda was the election of officers. So I guess start with chair.
I would like to nominate you to remain in that role.
Yes, I'd like to second that.
Okay. I'm happy to do so. But at some point, always happy to give others a chance as well. So, but yes, I'm happy to do it again.
Do you have the time, John, to get the agenda out on time? And I mean, I'm just asking that because I know you have a family, you work full time. If you have the time, fine. But if you're feeling stressed, that's another story. Please speak up.
Yeah. No, and I apologize for the one today. Quite frankly, I was traveling last week and I've had some troubles with Google, and I think I'm going to have to switch back to Yahoo because I was trying to keep it separate, and it's just not working for me. The way they
Okay.
come in and the way it just it's not working. So I will apologize for the delay there in that agenda today, but like to get those out in advance. I actually had it ready like 2 weeks ago, but the attorneys hadn't gotten back to me, so I didn't want to send it out prematurely, and then I was out of the office. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay. Any discussion on that? You want to take a vote?
Take a vote.
I guess all in favor. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate your support.
Chair for life.
Yeah. Right.
What you
Okay.
get for volunteering.
Yes. No, I understand. Yes. Chair for life. All right. So I guess we have next is the vice chair. Frankly, I think Tammy did a great job this year. I would personally nominate her to do it again unless someone
I'd
else has
second
it.
that.
Tammy, of
I'll
course, has
second that
nothing to say
motion.
about it.
Tammy, are you willing to do it?
Yes.
Yay.
Okay. Thank you. All right. All in favor? Okay. Looks pretty unanimous. Okay. And then lastly, or not lastly, secretary was Lynn. I'll make a motion to continue with Lynn as secretary. So she wants to continue.
Second that.
I would be
Lynn?
happy to continue.
Okay.
If you'll have me.
Yeah. All in favor? All right. Looks pretty unanimous there as well. I liked having Jared as a parliamentarian.
Yes.
And I thought that was a very useful role. We accomplished a few things. I think it's worth continuing that. Jared, if you are willing to, and if you agree, I don't know if he's still on. It looks like
No, I'm
okay.
John, I'll be good with that.
Okay, cool. My screen changed and I'm not sure why, but cool. So I'll make a motion for Jared to continue as parliamentarian.
I'll second.
Yep.
All right. All in favor? Raise your hand. And we have plenty of votes. Okay, great. So we have officers for 2026 and some action items to do. Is there anything else we didn't talk about tonight? I think everyone's doing a really great job, and I think we have a great flow. So appreciate everyone's partnership, and I think we're really hitting home on all the important points. So thank you and happy holidays. I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All right. I'm assuming
Thanks,
everyone's
John.
in favor. So happy holidays and thank you
Happy
all for your
holidays.
partnership.
Have a good night.
Holidays, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye,
Happy
everybody.
holidays. Bye.